Inchai squish skulum tchnalks. Halan mapurkskikin moot. Akalai ich sinikamen or akalai sintimnaten. Lakalai shield. Lakalai take. I've been working since I was 40 years old when I started driving bus, or 39 years old. I'm over 80 now. And I drove a bus until I was, till 2007. I lost my eyesight for a little while. I had to get an operation to get it back, get my eyesight back. And I got a letter from the driving place where they took my license right away. I guess the doctor must have let them know or something. But when I had my operation, they wrote me back and told me I could get it back and go back to work. But by then I was work. Well, at the time when I was driving the bus, I was doing language anyway. So I just stuck with the language. So I have 2 daughters and 3 granddaughters and a grandson. And I got 3 grandchildren from Ashley here, great grandchildren. And I got 3 from Lacey. So I got 6 great grandchildren and 4 grandchildren. Well, the thing is, you have to respect yourself, respect your husband and your family, all your kids. You try your best to do for your kids like what you want them to do for you.
White Haskell Halt is an Culch Squeeze Suchalikum is Semi Squeezed Ashley Gregoire is in Coat and Clean Tomb Leonard Nath Virginia Gregoire Kintel Kmapelks Kikin Mut. So hello, good day. My Okanagan name means whirlwind. My English name is Ashley Gregoire. My maternal grandparents are Leonard and Virginia Gregoire, and I am from Head of the Lake on Okanagan Indian Band Reserve. I thought a lot about what I wanted to say, and I wanted to not only acknowledge my grandparents, Leonard and Virginia, who raised me, but also their parents. Growing up in this home, I heard a lot about my great-grandparents, and the more I think about it, I realize that I come from lines of strong voices. On my grand's side, her mom was a really powerful, beautiful singer. I was at work on Friday, and I work in the school, our immersion school and our daycare, and up on the wall, there was a picture of my grandma Ella. And I turned to a young man that I work with. He's in his early 20s, and I started to tell him a story about my grandma. And she was asked to come and sing at a big event, and there were, high up government officials at this event.
He sang for John Diefenbaker.
For John Diefenbaker. And they were passing around the mic to the singers. They got to her, they passed her the mic. And right then when I was telling the story, the young man I was talking to finished the story, he said, and she pushed the mic away because she didn't need it. Her voice was powerful. And in that arena, she sang without a microphone, and her voice was just booming off of the walls. And I was just like, I thought I was telling him a story and he knew it. And I thought that's amazing that her story is still being told. Through my my papa was a good storyteller, and he wasn't one to stand up in a crowd and talk, but if you were lucky enough to get in a room where he was telling a story, you listened. He was a great storyteller. You could have heard the story 10 times before, but you're hanging off of every word. And he got that from his dad, Tommy Gregoire. I guess you could say I spent a lot of years lost. And I was in a hard place for myself. And I didn't leave the house really for a good 10 years. I was affected by a loss that I experienced, and I carried that with me. And I lost who I was in that experience. And I was really down on myself, and I thought that I wasn't capable of doing anything. I was really in my head, a lot of negative self-talk. And I don't know what it looked like on the outside, maybe that I was lazy. I don't know what people were thinking about me, because I wasn't doing anything with my life for 10 years, a good 10 years, I think. And it was really because I was struggling and I was lost. And I had an opportunity come up to take work training in a different community, about less than 2 hours drive. So I thought, I'm gonna take this opportunity just to see if it takes me somewhere, just to do something, just to have something to hold on to. So I took the training, and really the work training wasn't something that I stuck with, but it was the experience of the drive there and the drive back. And on my drive, I really started to be aware of my surroundings. I started to look at the land, and I started to think, this is where my people are from. And I started to look at the lake, and I thought, 100 years ago, 500 years ago, there were people walking this land that brought me here. And I really started to think about that. And pretty soon, I don't know why, I started to talk to the land. So I started to talk to my ancestors, and then I realized that really what I was doing was praying. And in my prayers, I made sure to apologize to my ancestors, because I wasn't following protocol. This maybe wasn't the best way to pray, but it's all I had in that moment. And something that we learn from our people is you have to really be careful when you're praying. You have to choose your words wisely, because if you don't say exactly what it is, you might get exactly what you asked for. And it could be something that you didn't want. It could be something that hurts you. It could be something that hurts your family. So I was really specific in what I was asking for. And I said, just please help me. I'm feeling really pitiful, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And I said, I feel like I'm walking in the dark. So I said, please don't give me a sign, because I'm walking in the dark. I won't see it. And please don't put it in front of me, because I might trip over it. I might hurt myself. And I asked, please just let it fall into my lap. Whatever it is, I'll take whatever you want, and let it fall into my lap. And I thought that I was being sort of selfish for asking for this, because we're taught that you really have to work for what you get. And here I was asking, just put it in my lap. So, but that's what I prayed for. And I didn't really know that anything was going to come from it. And then 4 or 5 months down the road, there was a language class opening up in my community, and I decided to go. I thought, well, I took that training and I made it through. Maybe I can make it through this class. So I took the class. And a month later, another language program opened up that was going to run simultaneously. And I said, well, I'm not doing anything anyway. I'll take that language class too. So I was in 2 programs at once. And 2 weeks into that second program, it fell into my lap. There was a job opening up at our immersion school to help out with the culture and language. And I still had to apply, and I still had to interview, but there it was. It fell into my lap. Someone came up and said, you know, would you like to work with the school? And do you want to apply? And I did. And that really changed my life. It changed the way I think about myself. It changes the way I feel about myself. It changed the way I talk to myself. When I think about our young girls, I think and I notice that they're growing up in a different world, even that I grew up in, and they do have a lot on their plate. They do have a lot of negative influence because of the social media and the pressure that are on these girls. And it's just sort of the way of young people. They want to look at what's outside. They want to look outside to see what they should look like or how they should act, what they should be doing. And I know a lot of people struggle when they see images on social media that aren't real and it doesn't reflect what they look like. It doesn't reflect their life. It doesn't really reflect reality. And so I think that for young impressionable girls, that's a lot for them to take, and it's a lot on your mind and it's a lot on your heart. And I can see them getting lost and struggling with themselves because of what we deal with just in our communities and then with what's out there on top of that. So my advice to any young girl who struggles, who has hurt, or who is lost, I would say, when you're hurting, when you're in need of help, that you should look to your teachings. You should look to your roots. You should look to your land, your elders, your language. You should look to the water, because that's where you're going to find yourself. That's how I found myself. And so that's what I would say to them is, you know, everything you're out there looking for, you're going to find it here, and you're going to find it in yourself. You're going to find it in your language. You're going to find it in your teachings.